Welcome. I'm delighted to greet Ingenious today, and your name is quite interesting. It's an ingenious name, Ian.
Yeah, my name's Ingenious. Now that's ingenious. Exactly, yeah.
So is that actually your real name, or is that your trading name, as it were, or how have you come up with that?
Well, a long time ago, I've been in sales for 22 years, and someone said to me at a very early age, you've got to create interest quickly. So one of my great skills is either to irritate people or impress people in equal measures. So under my business card, it said Ian Gilbert, BSc Honours. So people would either say, oh, brilliant, you're very, very clever, or what a git, he's too clever. And if that wasn't enough to evoke a reaction, I'd actually say between where it says Ian and BSc Honours, I'm trying to crowbar Ingenious, but it wouldn't fit. And they were like, oh, like that. And then I thought one day I was driving down the road, my name's Ingenious. Now that's Ingenious. And it, bam, straight away, it perfectly suited the company. So
Excellent.
that's the origin of the name. And now I go by it now. I actually introduce myself to everyone in the world as Ingenious. It's just easier than so effectively, yes, I go by that name all the time.
Cool. Okay. And it is ingenious, isn't it? I have a friend who has a name that he's given himself, and everybody knows him as that name. I can't say what it is because it would give his game away. But he's done a very similar thing, and I think it's so cool. So we now know the person as the genius, in your case, and as him in his other guys. So
I don't even have to explain. I just phone up and say, hi, it's Ian Genius. Well, how many other Ian Geniuses do you know in a row?
Exactly.
So it's a quick one.
It's ingenious. So you mentioned irritating people and impressing them in equal measures, hopefully. In my experience of salespeople, it's normally the irritation factor that makes me walk off. So how do you get your balance?
To be fair, I can back up what I do very simply, but the thing in sales is you've got to get noticed. You don't want to fall into that grey area in the middle. So people have done this for generations. They've, whether it's they gave out something free, they always had an exciting prop, they had a spinning bow tie, they gave out some chewing gum. It didn't matter. What you want to get in sales is, Ian from wherever. Oh, I know him. What you don't want to get is, do you know Ian from wherever? Which one do you mean? You don't want that. So all I do is make an impact quickly. I can back it up. So I'm not talking about, oh, I hate his guts, but just, that sort of moment where, oh, he thinks he's a clever git or something, and boom, but then I'll back it up. And it's just to make sure they remember me.
Yes, yeah. And you mentioned on your card, you've got some fancy qualification and letters after your name. What's that all about?
So yeah, I've got a degree in mathematics, but I actually, the beauty of what I do is the mathematics that I use in my ingenious solutions doesn't get harder than 2 times 3 for extremely good reasons. Can I ask you a very quick question?
Yeah.
A very simple math question. So I'm going to ask you a simple maths question, and if you can just tell me when you've got the answer, don't tell me what you've got as the answer, but just tell me when you've got the answer, okay?
Yeah.
So just jot it down and say when you've got it. So the question is 2 times 3. And just tell me when you've got it.
I have that.
Already?
Yes.
Crikey, that's quick. Okay.
I'm ingenious. I have a good tutor.
So the answer to 2 plus 3 is 5. Is that what you got?
I thought I misunderstood the question. I've written down 6. I thought you said 2 times 3, but you said 2 plus 3, did you?
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. I must have given you the wrong problem.
Oh, you've done that on purpose, haven't you?
So you've got the right answer, unfortunately, to the wrong problem.
Mm.
And the right answer to the wrong problem is never correct. So here's that's a very basic example, but sometimes to prove a point, you can use some very, very simple numbers. And how many times does someone come in? They're very adamant about the problem that they have, and you can solve the problem that they say they have. But what if that wasn't the problem? And what if they realize that wasn't the problem halfway through speaking to you? Most people have not got the guts to say to a salesperson, I'm sorry, but for the last 20 minutes of your life, I've completely wasted them because I've just realized that. And this is the moment that dawned on me. If I can I use an example of how this happened to me? So I did my degree in maths and I went into Vodafone retail in 1998. And pay-as-you-talk phones came out that Christmas. And everyone thought that the best purchase for an emergency handset was a pay-as-you-talk. And it probably was. So I used to get a lot of little old ladies and little old men come in and say, I need a phone for emergencies, please. Now, I know in a lot of cases, I don't believe them, but I can't say to you, I think you're talking a load of old cobblers, because that's going to go, bam, resistance. So first of all, I'm just going to diffuse that and say, okay, that's fine. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of quick questions to get a better understanding of what you do? Now, most people are not going to have a problem with you trying to understand what they do. So I said, so it's just for emergencies. I said, would you use 1 hour a month? This lady said, no, it's for emergencies. I said, that's fine. I said, would you use possibly 2 minutes a day? She went, no, well, probably not as much as that. It's for emergencies. I said, okay, the last question, would you use 6 minutes every 3 days? Oh, easily 6 minutes every 3 days, she says. I go to Pilates twice a week. On the way back from Pilates, I phone my husband, just a general catch up to see what's for tea and what they need to buy from the shops for ingredients. I said, 6 minutes in 3 days, 2 3s are 6 is 2 minutes a day on average. And 2 minutes a day on average times 30 days of the month, 2 30s are 60. That is 60 minutes an hour. She said, I never thought of it like that. I said, well, would you use an hour a month? She said, yes, probably nearer 2. Well, that's in stark contrast to the original answer of no, it's for emergencies. Because now you can't build a house on a cloud, and you can't build a house on a foundation of sand. So whatever you do has to be built on some sort of semblance of reality. But I can't tell her what reality is, but I can help her to realize it using very, very simple numbers. And so what if so at the end of the day, when you say to someone in a month, who knows what you use in a month? It's nigh on impossible. I couldn't tell you what I did of anything in a month. How many beers do you drink? How many sandwiches do I? I'm guessing, pure guesswork. And what if when I said 2 minutes a day, that was the day when she wasn't going back from Pilates? But so go backwards and forwards and again, I've put this person under duress. I know what the question is. They didn't realize I was going to ask this question. They haven't had time to think about it. I've also given her enough few minutes to think of the anecdotal stories to change her mind. Again, I use a lot of comedy and magic elements concepts within what I do. So for example, in magic, they say, pick a card, any card. You pick a card. Now, if at the end of the trick, you've got the card that they said you had, you might feel that magician has forced that card on you. But if you pick a card, any card, and they say, right, if you want, you can change this card for any other card. Now, you can either choose to do it or choose not to do it. But either way, at the end of the trick, you can't say that magician forced this card on you, because you had every opportunity to change your mind. And that's what I've done with this lady. I've given her the opportunity to change her mind, and it's her choice. And does she believe the numbers that I put on her, or does she believe her own numbers that she's come to the conclusion of every time? So then once I got to the point of knowing what the real problem was, which was an hour a month, I would typically say, look, do you care about the bits that make up your phone package in a year, or is it the total cost? Do you care about the cost of the phone and the line rental and the calls, or is it all the bits added up at the end of the year? She said, well, it's obviously all the bits at the end of the year. So then I'd show her how much pay-as-you-talk cost with 2 minutes a day and how much contract cost with 2 minutes a day. It was £90 cheaper on contract. So all I was ever doing was helping the customer to make the best choice, which is extremely ethical. And not only did the person 9 times out of 10 want to pick the contract phone over the pay-as-you-talk, because ultimately they were only trying to save money. But sometimes the little old lady the husband would come in and say, all right, love, have you bought that pay-as-you-talk phone? She went, we're not buying a pay-as-you-talk. She explained how many minutes to her husband they were using and exactly how the total cost was made up of pay-as-you-talk and contract. Now, who does he believe? The salesman who's got an agenda to try and sell as many phones, or his wife who knows it like the back of her hand and has no hidden agenda? She just wants the best. Well, it's obviously he believes her. But the thing was as well, the ripple effect, like when you've seen a great film, you tell 5 people this is a great film. You're not getting money, you're not getting commission from Warner Brothers to do this, but you're doing it because you genuinely believe it. So when this lady bought bought a contract phone, because that was the actual real alternative, the best option, and one of her friends said, I'm going to buy a pay-as-you-talk phone for emergencies, this person, knowing it like the back of their hand, realizing they were going to make the same stupid mistake that this person was, says, do not do this. What you want to do is go and see Ian at Vodafone, and he will show you exactly how many minutes. Suddenly, I'm picking up these scorching hot leads because these people are already 9/10 down the railway track. They're standing in the corner of the Vodafone shop in Nottingham saying, no, I'll wait, thanks. I want to speak to Ian. Because the thing about every service is, it's not just the service, it's the person with the service. You only have to take a lot of these network products that exist. There's one product, but lots and lots of different salespeople. So it's not just the product that makes the service up, it's the person doing it, how skillful, how passionate, how experienced is the person. So even with the Vodafone shop, people still wanted to see me because it was me that made the difference and not the actual service. So again, my mathematics doesn't get harder than 2 times 3, right? My passion is logic, right? And my passion is actually using logic to take seemingly hard problems, breaking them down into simple stages and actually revealing how easy they really are. So if I give you an example, like, have you seen a wonderful magical illusion and gone, wow, that's insane? But sometimes you might see the reveal behind the magician's cloth, and it's a pulley or a wire or it's easy, right? It's not as impressive as the trick. The problem is you don't know where to look. And that's what I do. I help people. I open their eyes and show them how simple these things are once they know where to look. It's like the nearest thing to what I do is like the Matrix. Do you want to spend 34 years becoming a martial arts expert, or do you want to have Morpheus go bam into your head within seconds? You've downloaded martial arts in 15 seconds. Boom, that's it. And again, if you have a look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that it opened my eyes. I didn't realize it was this easy, made it extremely easy. I've not got a degree in maths to make things hard. I want to make things actually extremely easy. I'll give you another example of how easy things are when you break them down. I said to my 6-year-old daughter, this would be into sort of senior school. I said, this would be senior school, maybe year 2, certainly year 1. I said, what is 3x squared plus 3x squared? She went, I haven't got a clue. Because it's x squared, it's algebra. Who's going to know that at 6? I said, Eden, what is 3 plus 3? She said 6. I said, what are 3 apples plus 3 apples? She went, 6. I went, no, 6 apples. She went, oh yeah. I said, what are 3 hats plus 3 hats? She said, 6 hats. I said, do you see what's happening? The number adds to the number, the word stays constant. She says, I see that. I said, what are 3 doors plus 3 doors? She went, 6 doors. I said, what is 3x squared plus 3x squared? She went, 6x squared. That's the answer. It's easy. The only difference is you just got to break it into smaller component parts. That's all it is. And for me, for my stuff to work, because it works business to business, business to consumer. It would work on a phone call, a Zoom call. It doesn't make any difference. It works products or services, £5 orders to £500,000 orders, Joe blogs to CEOs. It doesn't matter whether it's an emotive product or service, technical, it doesn't matter, or a commodity. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the person's got a desire to do even better, whatever that even better is. They want more profit. They want more customers. They want the same number of customers taking more of the services they do. Or it might be that they want to sell the same number of things because they're at capacity, but they'd actually like to be paid what they're worth. They'd like to actually get paid more money for the same amount of stuff. So they've got to have an ambition, to desire to do even better, to be honest, to say, I do this really well and this not quite so well. Because I basically solve problems. So if there are no problems, because everyone's perfect at everything they do, well, by default, I can't solve nothing. And I'll always solve the easiest problem first. So if you do something 9 out of 10 and something 3 out of 10, there's a lot of scope in 3 out of 10. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before we get to perfection. So it's finding the easiest problems to sort out and then picking the next easiest problem and the next easiest problem and the next easiest problem. But the most important thing really is, and it's got nothing to do with how clever someone is, it's how open-minded someone is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would rather work with someone that thought about themselves that they were really, really thick, but extremely open-minded, than someone who was on paper or told me they were extremely clever, but closed-minded, because I can't do anything with that. And open-minded doesn't mean you have to believe what I say is true. Open-minded just means you're willing to hear it before you discard it. It doesn't matter what I say. If you're really open-minded and I say something, if you go into it open, here's someone being open-minded that is not open-minded. I've got 3 children and I say, I've got some korma. And they say, I don't like korma, Dad. I said, have you ever had korma? They went, no. Well, how do you know something that you don't like it before you've ever had it? Well, I just think I won't. So then they finally realize that what they're saying is nonsense. So they go like this, like that. So I'm going to feed it in with a spoon, a small amount, and they're going, ooh. Well, we don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out this is not going to end well. If someone has the face like this is going to be revolting, chances are it's going to be revolting. Now, it's going to be a struggle, but if they could try to be as neutral as they could and go, actually, I like that. That is possible from neutral. It is not possible from, it is not possible. So when I say to people, one of my first questions is, I say, how open-minded are you? And they say, oh, very, very open-minded. It doesn't matter because they've got a scale of what they think them on 0 to 10 is. You know, 10 for me might be someone could say, I believe in magical pixies and fairies are pulling the grass out every day. That's how the grass grows. For someone else, it's nowhere near that. So it's a scale. But I normally say, give me a number between 0 being closed-minded and 10 being open-minded. Where would you fit on the scale? And again, it doesn't matter. It's an arbitrary number between 0 and 10. My personal opinion is if that you gave yourself a 3, 4, most people don't like to do badly in tests. So you'd think that person would then try to be a bit higher up, but that might be true of any number. The only number that concerns me when they say, is when I say, how open-minded are you? And they say, depends on what? Because that, by default, can't be open-minded. You're only open-minded on the things that you're already sort of willing to accept, and anything outside that, you're not open-minded. Well, again, I haven't got the time or inclination to flog a dead horse because they don't want it. They just don't want it. So that bit's pointless.
I think that the word you used early, just earlier on, neutral, open mind's great. Closed minds, it's hard. I now with the health mentoring that I do, I won't speak with somebody with a closed mind, and it takes a little while. Obviously, I've picked up from your Ingenious method already, Ian, this morning. There's a way that you can find out if somebody's got an open or a closed mind. You just simply ask them. And when I with a health mentoring, it's about asking the right questions. And for example, I had somebody only yesterday. They asked, what could they use instead? They got their son had got a skin rash, and their doctor was prescribing steroid cream. So they know steroid cream isn't good long term. What alternative? So I said, well, in the short term, you could go to this product. However, we really need to know why there is a skin rash in the first place. So it's what you were saying as well, leading to what is the right question, because she's asking for cream for something, but why use the cream? Just find what the problem is, and then you do that by asking questions.
This genuinely happened to me. It was a friend of mine. He was actually a magician who I was getting some lessons off many years ago, and he was suffering from a really bad neck, and he'd gone to the doctor and he'd said, can I get some cream that will take away the pain from my bad neck? And he did, and he got this cream to rub on his neck, but it sort of subsided. You know, the pain never goes, it just subsides. And after a while of this lesser pain, he'd got frustrated. And so he went to see another doctor, and he said, I've had a bad neck. I've been given some pain relief for it, but it never goes away, and it's an irritant, and I want to get rid of it completely. And this time, the doctor, rather than just taking the problem on board and giving the person what he wanted, started doing what a doctor should do, which was actually ask some decent questions. And he said, what do you do? And da-da-da-da. It got to the point of, what did he do at night time? And he watched a lot of television. And he said, and where is the television situated relative to the chair? Unfortunately, he wasn't watching the TV straight. The TV was at like 15 degrees and slightly up. He went, have you ever thought about straightening your chair up? Because anyone that wears glasses, I'm a glasses wearer, so anyone knows the glasses. If you do soft play with your kids and your face gets a bit sweaty, your glasses slip down your nose, so you can't see. So what do? Is you correct your neck. And a small change of 3, 4, 5, whatever degrees, you end up going, God, Struth, my neck's killing me. So you watch your TV for 2 hours at the wrong angle because your chair's off straight. There was nothing wrong with his neck. He didn't need any cream. That was a cure. What about the prevention? This is what you're saying, rather than just curing it, why not actually prevent it happening in the first place? Get to the bottom of the problem. And so one of the first things I do is, because before you give a solution, you've got to get the problem. And like the 2 times 3 example, you've got to get the right problem. And let's say the person wants even more sales success. Now, a lot of people will make the assumption that to get even more sales success, they need to get better at what they call selling, right? And so they need to learn some more sales techniques. And I'm not saying they're all bad, and I've used sales techniques, but the problem with sales techniques is that potentially, you're convincing, proving, persuading someone that you're the best. And that can come across as slightly devious, even if what you're doing is very, very honorable, because it's convincing, but it sounds a little bit underhand. And the problem is, again, that you might close some more sales, but the person might be buying under duress. They might regret with buyer's remorse. They might cancel abruptly, and they might even tell others people to avoid you like the plague because you're a pushy salesperson. So you might get some sales for a bit. They might leave quickly, and they might have actually turned off people who are probably going to use you. Whereas, like when I went to that phone example, by helping the customer to make the best choice, and they realized it and they saw the true value of what it was they were doing, the ripple effect was the massive positive, because the best salesperson of me is not me, and the best salesperson of you is not you, because we've both got hidden agendas. We want to do well. But anyone that says, Ian's brilliant, you've got to see him, I'm not paying them. I'm not paying them for this. They're saying it because they genuinely believe it. And that is absolute gold dust. So going back to I wanted to make the biggest impact to someone's sales success, if that's what they want. But I could go to see a wizard, right? I could go to see a magical wizard who could turn me into the luckiest man in the world. And everyone that came to see me wanted to buy because I'm that lucky. Now, I've got no better at selling, have I? But my sales success has improved. Now, I don't know. Unfortunately, I do not know any wizards. But it just shows you that there are other ways of massively improving your sales success. There must be other ways. And that's what I've done. So I help ambitious small business owners who want to do even better, and I help them take all the profit off the table instead of leaving it for their competition. So I teach and coach, like I call it an ingenious sales approach. It's ridiculously easy to learn, extremely ethical, and delivers instant results. Because if you think about it like this, if you were doing a job, let's say it was mowing the lawn, and a lot of my anecdotes, I must love lawns. I just love lawns, right? I call it lawn because I'm posh. I'm from Royal Berkshire originally. Not the grass or the grass. I actually call it the lawn. So a lot of my anecdotes and everything around lawns. But if you had to mow the lawn and everything stayed the same, the lawn size was the same, the lawnmower was the same, the grass size, everything was the same, would you rather do it hard or easy?
I think I'd choose easy.
Choose easy, yeah? And when you make any choices in life, do you try to make really poor choices? So when you buy your food, you buy the food that makes you sick. And
Mm.
when you buy your clothes, you buy the clothes that make you look like an idiot. And when you buy the holiday, you deliberately choose the holiday from hell. Or do you try to make the best choice?
Remarkably, how some people seem to go out of their way to do daft things. And you mentioned earlier on logic and common sense. You know, it's just it beggars belief, doesn't it? Why some people make their life to be so hard when it's unnecessary.
Well, see, if you glue the two bits together, if people always want to make the best choice, the choice is limited by their budget and everything else they have, but they still choose within their parameters the best choice. And we know people like to do easy things rather than hard things. Now, most companies make it very easy to make a poor choice. Some companies make it very hard to make it the best choice.
Mm.
But what about gluing the two best bits together? Well, how about make it very easy for your customer to make the best choice? Because that's the only one that makes sense. But the thing is, there's so many permutations that people just end up going scattergun approach. But if you just make it easier for your customer to make the best choice, that's the one that actually makes sense. Because your customer's got a problem that your service solves. They want the best solution. You've got the best solution. But every time they choose your inferior competition, do it themselves badly and waste their precious time doing it, or ignore the problem and do nothing, which is absolutely ridiculous, they've not made the best choice. But the customer wants to, but is it their fault if they're making a poor choice? Or as the expert, is it that you haven't made it easy enough for your customer to make the best choice and use you? Because with the
That's really simple how you explain it, and everything that you are ingeniously explaining is it's bleeding obvious, isn't it? But so often business people can't see the wood for the trees. They're so busy in the business, they're not looking on the business and seeing. And I'm at risk of doing this at the moment. I'm just creating a new system, and I know I've overcomplicated it. But I'm at the point now where I seriously have to talk to you outside of this conversation, Ian, because I know at the moment that's what I'm at risk of doing, and it's ridiculous. So I'm going to be talking to you separately.
And it seems easy now, but it's taken me 22 years. So for 22 years, successful companies have paid me to make them even more profit and to exceed their sales targets. And it's taken me 22 years to create, develop, play test, and perfect these ingenious solutions. And I'm not even right by saying perfect, because there isn't a perfect, because every time I think that the problem with perfect is people stop. And that's not what I do. I'm always looking to say, well, can it be improved again? Because the biggest problem a lot of people have is they don't challenge the accepted. So they say, it's always been done this way. Mm-hmm. It can't be done any differently. I tried, but. The worst one is I tried, but, because I can't get to the moon. But that doesn't mean someone else can't. You know, someone else can do it. So why don't you just get rid of the bit or get some help on doing something? But so I say perfected, it's pretty good. But I'm always thinking, actually, that's a better way of doing it again. And that's a better way of doing it, because someone says, I've got a 93% retention rate. Well done, that's superb. It doesn't stop at 93. There is 94, 95, 90. Obviously, it might not be the first problem you tried to solve, but if 93% was the top, then the rest of the numbers afterwards wouldn't exist. And the other thing is, I said about honesty, and honesty isn't the same as accuracy. But I had two of my best mates growing up, and both of them became gamblers, and they told selective truths. And anyone that's known gamblers or alcoholics will probably know something similar. So they would say something along the lines to me like, I've just won £75 in the fruit machine. And it was true, they had. What they didn't bother telling me is that they'd put £200 in to win the £75. And once they'd won the £75, they put it back in the machine again, so they came out with nothing. So it's a selective truth.
Yes.
And the selective truth of someone saying they've got a 93% retention rate is that is great and it could be better. But the problem is, if the conversion rate is only 2 out of 10, but they don't want to say that because they're embarrassed by that. Well, that was the thing that you can sort out. If you've got a printing company and the printer is chucking off this paper and you've got a little old man stapling it together, don't buy a faster printer. He can't keep up with the one that's going. Either get a faster bloke or more blokes, you know, with a stapler. And again, it's, if you work on, it's all very simple. If you say easy, what is the easiest thing to do? And then I'll do the next easiest. But if you don't know what the easiest thing is, you end up with a scattergun approach. And then you just end up in it's just chaos. And the thing is, this is what, see, a lot of companies will think that the easiest, so like, it is an example, right? So if you played a game, Elaine, if you played a game, would you typically play a game that you always got whooped at every time? You lost at every single time, got thrashed. Would you like to play a game that you got thrashed at every time?
No, I think either decline, or I'd go and get a coach to help me so that next time I'd whoop them.
And if the game was for money, where every time you lost you had to pay some money out, would you be even less inclined to get thrashed every single time?
Absolutely.
But sales is a game. It must be a game, because the end result is a win-win. It should be the easiest game in the world to play. It's like American games where there are no losers. There are only winners when they play their baseball at young ages to make sure everyone doesn't go home disappointed. So you're playing a game where the best result is a win-win, yet it's not as easy as that. It's more like battleships, because you don't know where the other person's placed all their opportunities, their objections, their misconceptions. So you just end up firing these questions out, trying to unveil it. Once you hit one, it's easy to hit it again because you know it's in one line or the other, but it's hitting it in the first place. And so if you want to know more information, does it seem sensible to ask better questions?
Obviously, yes. Yeah, I think it's a question of people buying rather than selling. I think over the years, salespeople have got a bad reputation. Bad salespeople have got a bad reputation, which has kind of gone throughout the industry. Whatever product services you're selling, to me, it's about buying. You know, we should become better informed so that we can make better buying choices, as opposed to the other way around, and feel that you've been sold to, because it's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, you want to, and like I say, if you come back to the other thing, if you tell someone this, most people do this, you're going to end up in a mess. But if you say to the person, if you knew that most people spent 10 hours or whatever doing something, and you wanted a number near 10, but you actually said to someone, how many hours do you do this? They might end up with 20, which is a bigger number than you wanted anyway. So that's great. And then if they give you a number underneath it, again, you can't tell them that that's wrong. If they say it's 3 hours, I spend 3 hours doing it. But much like the phone example, if you would just help them to realize, and they actually go, actually, I didn't think of it like that. Yes, it's 12. Again, their number, they're always going to believe their own numbers. And so, yeah, it's one thing. But this is a massive point. So you want to know more information about the person, whether it's an opportunity, an objection, or you're trying to reveal a misconception, because that's underpinning it. Because if the person has 10 opportunities and you only find out about one of them, you could be the greatest salesperson in the world, but you're only ever going to get 10% of their business, because the other 9 you never found out about. So you think, I know, ask better questions. Here's the thing. Can you rely on your answers?
That's a good point.
I'll see if we can, right? So let's start off with, if you speak to a new person that you've never met before, or you've only just met them, do you know if they're telling you the truth or if they're a pathological liar?
No way at all. You don't.
So can you rely on the answer of someone that you don't know?
No, of course.
If you don't know if they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Right,
no.
So that's them knackered. That's them knackered straight away, right? So now you're left with the people that you do know. At a business level, you've maybe had a couple of drinks, you've seen some buying trends and everything else. So can you rely on the answers to the people that you do know?
Again, not necessarily. No, you can't, can you?
I don't know, really, to be fair. Elaine, can you smell onions?
No.
What, even when they're under your nose?
Yes.
Okay, so I asked the question, can you smell onions?
Mm.
Did you assume I meant now?
I did, yes. Yeah,
Did you assume I meant in the room that you're in?
I did.
Did you assume that you meant at a distance that you thought I was referring to from wherever the smell was coming from?
I did. Made assumptions.
Okay, so I know what question I've asked. I don't know what question you've answered because you didn't answer the question, I can't smell onions now in the room that I'm in at the distance I think you're referring. You just said no.
Yes.
Right now, at the moment, it seems silly, although it might help to. So, for example, can you see a door in the room that you're in?
No.
You can't see a door. Okay, well, can we? How many handles typically go on a door?
2.
Two, one on each side.
Yeah.
So either 2 handles per door or a set of handles per door, right? The ratio, depending on which you're looking at. So if you go in to see an existing customer with nothing, and you said, "Are you buying?" So this is you're selling doors and handles. This person's a merchant that then sells it out to builders and everyone else. So you say to this merchant, "Are you buying all your doors and handles from me?" And he says, "Yes." You go, "Oh, great. All right, here's a leaflet on something new. Say a goodbye, goodbye, goodbye." That's a sales meeting. I've seen this 22 years of this. Ask a question they thought was a good question, nothing much else to say. Anyway, off they go. Well, the whole purpose of seeing the existing customer was the fact they had the data on it. But they're not particularly good at data because salespeople don't use maths and maths people don't go into sales, right? That's the normal rule, right? So, but what if you could see on a piece of paper that that person had bought 100 doors and only 15 sets of handles? 100 doors, 15 sets of handles. Is there an anomaly that jumps off a page to you?
Yes, there is. Yes, definitely.
Where are the other 85 sets of handles?
From a different supplier.
So you say, now it is possible that that person bought loads and loads of handles months and months before in a discount. It is possible that the only doors they buy are slide doors. It is possible that the person, when they change the door, reuses the old handle. There are lots of ways around it. But you say, the only reason, are you buying all the doors and handles from me? Yes, I am. Question 1, okay. Question 2, the only reason I'm asking it is because you've bought 100 doors and only 15 sets of handles. Where are the other 85 sets of handles? Well, you don't sell them in Chrome. Now, I didn't say to you, are you buying all your doors and handles apart from the ones you buy in Chrome? And he didn't say, yes, I buy all the doors and handles from you apart from the ones I buy in Chrome. I had to see an anomaly. Now, if he says, because you don't sell them in Chrome, there are only 2 options. 1, I don't sell them in Chrome, but if I was missing 85 a month, would I want to reconsider and stop them? Because I can't overcome an objection I'm not aware of. That is not possible. If I don't know he's buying them, I can't overcome the objection. It's just logic again. What if the other option was that I did sell Chrome handles, they're on page 6? I'd go, they're on page 6, you pillock. What are you doing? He goes, June doesn't ever give me page 6. She only gives me page. Are you telling me I've lost 85 handles every month for the last 5 years because you didn't bother to tell me that? And every time I ask you, you answer a different question. I've doubled people's business doing this. I've gone into meetings I had 800 radiators. I sat down with this chap and I said, you always buy them off me in 25. He said, your terms are brilliant. I said, do you always buy your compacts from us? He said, I always buy your compacts from you. I said, well, what do you do when you run out of 1 or 2 key lines? He says, I go down the road for them. I buy singles. I said, what does singles mean? He says, well, obviously 1 or 2, but normally I make the order up to about 5. This story's getting infinitely worse every time I ask the question. He says, Dave's down in the van today collecting 9. A minute ago, I said, are you buying all your radiators from us? And you said, yes. And now, just today he's bought 9. I said, do me a favor. You've bought 800 from me this year. Have a look on your system, how many you've bought in what you're calling singles. He went, 930. I didn't realize I'd bought as many as that. Now, when you do a big weekly shop, you spend 80, 100 pounds. If you also did 7 days worth of shopping at the little Tesco's at £15, that's £105. That's more in little shops than the big shop. It's less memorable. So it's easily done. I said, well, you don't buy singles anyway, you buy them in fives. If I could do you a rate, not the rate I can do for 25s, but if I could do you a lesser rate, but still competitive for fives, would you use me? He was like, of course. I'm like, you're winding me up. You want, I said, because he says, he said, I prefer your radiators. But we're both having this conversation. He's made a load of assumptions. I'm trying to get them out. But up to now, I hadn't got the information in the way, because have you ever knocked a nail into a piece of wood?
Yes.
Whether you're putting a cupboard together, something like that, right? What happens when you're 1 degree off straight?
It's disaster. It doesn't work.
Even 1 degree off straight, it can bend over, it can go in a weird angle. It's an absolute dog's dinner. So when I got the information originally, it was in pound notes. Now if you take baths and taps, I know most baths have a tap or 2 taps, not 65 taps and not no taps. The number will depend whether it's in the middle. There's a number that's going to be about right. But if it's now £660 of baths and £84 of taps, it's not an obvious ratio. I've got to turn the baths price into a number of baths in my head, probably, and then I've got to turn the amount of tap money into numbers of taps before the anomaly jumps off the page. So what most salespeople do, from my experience, is one, they don't actually ever use any data in the first place. They just go in, they've had a quick look, but it doesn't really make any difference. And they just go, all right, am I getting all your business? And the bloke's obviously answering some other question. He says yes. Or they do go in with something, but the information has been given to them by the IT department or accounts department that's never sold anything in their lives. So they don't know what the person ever wanted to see. The salesman didn't know what he wanted to see because he's never been given anything better. So the two worlds never collide. So he just ends up with a load of numbers that he thinks should be useful, but he has no idea why they are when they're not. And therefore, he goes, well, I've no idea. It looks wrong. It looks a bit low, but I can't work anything out for it. And then just leaves it behind and just leaves the profit on the table. And so what I do is I work out, first of all, does the person have a problem? Then I work out, do they want to do something about it? And are they open-minded to try some new angles? Then I work out where the easiest problem is. Is it that they're not extracting opportunities? Is it that they're not exposing objections? Is it that they're not revealing all these misconceptions that are holding them back? So they get this information out, but it's not good enough to get that information out. They've got to challenge, quantify and qualify the answers to make sure they're not building a house on a foundation of sand. Then they've got to work out which of these opportunities they want and which of the objections they want to overcome. So on one side of a seesaw, you've got what the person's doing already, all the benefits on one side of the seesaw of this person's cheaper, this person's a faster delivery. And on the other side, you've got all the things that and at the moment, if you're on the seesaw, you're on the high side, you're not winning that. But you don't want to turn the seesaw like this, where you've literally given everything away. You've got the business, but it's meant to be a win-win. And a win-win isn't one where you've suddenly just destroyed your margins. All you want to do is go, which of the opportunities and objections do I need to overcome just to turn the seesaw marginally in my favor? And so, first, before you can choose which of the things it is, you need to know which of the objections you can overcome and which one will cause you the least pain. What I'm trying to do is create the perfect win-win. So the customer wins, but you win as well without giving everything away. So that's it. Like I say, that's a sort of flavor of what I do.
And you mentioned magic. You mentioned having a guy that was teaching you magic. So does magic go through everything that you do? Is that what you're doing when you're not talking all this common sense?
I've just nicked the best bits out of every lesson I've ever learned. Right, my dad, for example, as a small boy, my dad was a mathematician, sort of philosopher. He couldn't walk past a sign without reading it. I was a 7 or 8 year old boy, and I'd say to my dad, "Dad, I'm in the garden if you want me." 7-year-old boy, "I'm in the garden if you want me." He said, "Where are you if I don't want you?"
Love it.
I'm 7. You know, he's thinking at a different plane to everyone else. So you imagine you get brought up with this, you know, this sort of completely different way of thinking. And I end up playing chess for the county. And in chess, I might make 1 or 3 moves. So if I just play 1 move, you might realistically play 3 different moves back, and 3 possibly good moves. If you play 3 moves, I might, to each one of those moves, might play 3 moves back. So we're up to 9 permutations. So again, my brain goes off in all these different directions. In terms of comedy, some of the most easy points to make are using, when you make something very silly, it's obvious. When you use simple numbers, it's obvious. When you use like elements of magic, in magic, you see this magical illusion and they show you 2 or 3 sides of the box. And you've seen enough now. You think you've seen enough. You go, well, I've seen 3 sides. I don't need to. They're called convincers, because you don't think you need to see the 5th, 6th, and 7th. The problem is, if you had seen the 5th, 6th, and 7th angle of the box, it would have actually all been revealed to you how they did it. And again, it's like trying to find ways just to expose things. Like again, with the reveal behind the magician's cloth. Once you realize it's actually very easy, you didn't know where to look. Sometimes that can help you looking in other directions. And it's like, again, it's just start thinking in a completely new direction. For example, if someone gets 6 out of 10, let's say they see 10 leads that have got a problem they can solve, and they want to deal with all 10 customers, but at the moment they're getting 6. I'm not interested in the 6 they're getting, and I'm not going to change anything the person does to get the 6. I'm only interested in the 4 they're not getting. People buy on emotions and justify with logic. The problem is these 4 people can't justify the purchase with logic. And the easiest way to prove this is true is that you say, let's say you charged £100 for your service. It solves a problem they've got. You're the best solution to that problem. And they say, I'm gonna leave it, thanks, Elaine. I'm gonna, whatever it is. And salesmen are full of a drug called hopium, because they hope that when this person says, I'll think about it, they'll come back, and occasionally they will, but realistically they won't. So hope basically is the same as a no. And so I'm only interested in the 4 people that can't justify it. So let's say you'd say £100 for the service, and then they say, just out of interest, you're saying no at the moment. If I did it for £50, half price, would you reconsider? And they say, oh, yes. Some of the time, some might. Out of 10 no's, 1 might, 3 might, 5 might, 7. I don't know how many, but some will do it. Go, yes, at 50 quid instead of 100. Yes, I'd reconsider. Well, has the problem they've got any less? Hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the price. But you say, well, I don't want to discount my product. Okay, but the problem is at the moment, most companies sell magic beans, right? If you go to invest some money, if I said to you, give me 100 quid and I'll give, in 3 months' time, I'll give you £300 back, would you do it? You give me 100 and I give you £300 back, would you do that?
Yeah.
And if I said, you give me £100 and it's all kosher, you give me £100 and instead of in 3 months I give you 300, I give you £500 back, would you be even more inclined to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful deal.
Okay, so we know that the more the amount of the value, the even more inclined you're going to do it. Let's flip it though. This time I say, you give me 100 quid, in 3 months' time, that'll be worth £30 in total. So you give me 100 and I give you £30 back. Would you do that?
Probably not. But maybe.
Probably
I
not.
think, yeah, probably.
Well, okay, well, if you would. So you give me 100 quid and in 2 months' time I'll give you £30 back in total. Yeah, you'd do that. Because if you will, I'll do it now with you. I've turned your 100 quid into a total of 30 quid, so you've just lost £70.
Oh no, I'd want the £100. No, I'd want the 100 as well as the 30.
Oh no, there is no 100 as well. It's now worth £30.
Oh no.
No, right? Because that's moronic. That's what is moronic. So we know that the amount you have to get back has to be more than the amount you put in, and the bigger the amount you get back has to be, it makes a difference to increasing it. So we know that's a simple rule straight away. So when you get to the 4 people who won't use you, there's 2 ways of going about it. Either you reduce your cost, but you don't want to do that, or you show that the value of what you do is worth more than they thought it was. So have you ever heard time is money?
Yes, yeah, too often.
Yeah, so can I ask you a very silly maths question?
I have a go.
Okay, £1 plus £1 is,
£2.
and 1 hour plus 1 hour is,
2 hours.
and £1 plus 1 hour is.
Oh, I don't know. I'm under pressure. What was the question?
£1 plus 1 hour.
Oh, it's a pound an hour.
You can't do anything with it, can you?
Uh,
I thought time was money,
mm,
but it
yeah.
isn't. It's not. It's obviously not money. It's not money yet. So if you say, some companies will say, I will make you more confident, I will save you some hassle, I will make you some money, and I will save you some time. Now, we can't add £1 to 1 hour at the moment. So how the hell are we going to add confidence, less stress, plus money, less time?
Mm,
What's that great string of rubbish?
yeah.
No
Nonsense.
idea. A load of nonsense is what that is. But the thing is, I know that this person charges £497 for this load of nonsense, and I know what £497 is. I've no idea what that great string of nonsense is. So is it a massive surprise that the people who don't buy on emotions can't justify that with logic because it's a load of nonsense?
Mm.
So
Very interesting, Ian. And the way you explain it is just so simple. Um, well, I'm sure you said you've been doing this 22 years, so long may you
it's
continue
refined.
doing this. You've been refining it for 22 years.
Just refining it for 22 years. And you can see at the moment, right, we haven't even really talked about a product or a service or the amount of it, because it's so fundamental once you start doing this, that it's so fundamental that it's actually about making things easier. So I'll just give you, I'll give you a summary. I'll give you a summary of just an end piece. This is another piece. Like I said, 22 years. I can't summarize 22 years up in a bit, but I can give you an example. So that, so the example used earlier with the phones was helping actually to get the opportunity right in the first place. But let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about the overcoming objections side at the far end. So a gardener goes to this door and he knocks on the door and he says, oh, excuse me, I can see your grass is overgrown. Would you like me to mow your lawn for you? £20 to save you the hassle. The bloke at the door says, nah, it's all right, Tara. I don't enjoy it much. It takes me about an hour probably, so I might have given you £10, but I'll leave it, thanks. The gardener says to the bloke, I see you're a sales coach. Do you mind if I ask you how much you charge? The sales coach says, yeah, it's £50 an hour, but I'm sorry, I'm fully booked at the moment. He says, that's not a problem. The sales coach says, I tell you what, I like you. Instead of me charging you £20 to mow your lawn, would you let me cut your lawn for £30? The sales coach goes, what? That makes no sense. I wasn't going to pay you 20. I said, I might pay you 10. I'm certainly not paying you £30. It's ridiculous. The gardener says, no, I'll mow your lawn and pay you £30 effectively. You give me £20 to mow the lawn. I save you an hour of your time. In the hour, you do something far more productive and you earn £50 selling it to me or someone else. You make £50. You pay £20. 50 less 20 is 30. You make £30 and I mow your lawn. The sales coach says, never thought of it like that. You should be the sales coach. He says, I was taught by a genius. True story.
Yeah,
Not.
that is
But
ingenious.
the problem was the sales coach didn't think hassle was worth £20. He may not have thought an hour was worth £20, but you turn hassle into time, time into money. £50 is bigger than 20, but before £20 before you don't even, everyone knows 50 is bigger than 20, even if you didn't do any sums. But to take it to completion, 50 less 20 is 30. £30 he's made and he's mowed the lawn. It's now a no-brainer. It was always the perfect win-win. The gardener wanted to mow the lawn. the sales coach wanted his lawn mowed, but something was going wrong. And is it the customer's fault that should he have to do all the mathematics and work it out? Or as the gardener, is he the expert? Can he do something to make it far easier for the customer to make the best choice? And that's what he did. He manipulated numbers around to help the customer to make the best choice. Better for the customer, better for the salesman. And like I said, the result of that is the customer's trust improves, engagement improves, retention improves. And then he becomes the greatest salesman of the company, the cheerleader that tells everyone else. He explained it to me in a different way to show me I can actually free up my own time to do something more productive. And he ends up with even more scorching hot leads, rather than people buying with remorse, cancelling abruptly and telling other people to avoid you like the plague. So it's an instant, it's extremely easy, instant and extremely ethical, because once you start looking through a new set of eyes and realizing how easy it actually was, more and more and more things start coming to you. Oh, that's a good idea. This is a good idea. Boom, 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 boom. And it just starts unraveling, and you can just, it's just brilliant once you start seeing things through a different set of eyes.
It's not brilliant, it's ingenious. Thank you so much, Ian, for your time. It's been really interesting, and I wish you the best of everything with your 3 little geniuses that you're developing there at home. Fabulous.
And again, for yourself, like I said, I'd love to speak to you on a one-on-one, because
yes.
you know, it's I love helping people out, but I'm always saying, look, if someone wants to help me out, I would love that as well. You know, I really would, which is why it's a great opportunity to get to speak to you today on this meeting.
Fabulous. So how do people get hold of you, Ian?
Well, they can, if they search me for Ian Genius, as separate words on LinkedIn. I've got a website that's coming in the next week that you can find me on that, and again on Facebook. And I can if you want to, I can leave my details on your post for my LinkedIn details and telephone number, if that's how you like to do it as well. I can leave it all there, but I'd love to speak to someone. And again, when you buy something that's brilliant, you don't need to be sold to. It's more like, where do I sign up? So what I offer is, I offer a 20 minutes for nothing at all, no obligation. I just want to see if the person really wants to do better, and where, if they do have any problems that I can solve. And if they do and they want to pursue it, then they work with me. And if they don't, that's fine as well. They've got a choice, which is all what it's all about. Ultimately, get the best choice. Yes, I do. No, I don't. So I'll leave all my details with you. But my name's Ian Genius. Now that's Ingenious.
Fabulous. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much.
So that was a really interesting chat with Ian, and it's got me thinking about my business as well, because saving time, saving money, and the other thing was, he said, is relevant for every business. And although I'm in the health business these days, I mix psychology and health, absolutely relevant. So I can save people time and money in terms of helping them with helping businesses with recruitment. But when it comes to my behaviour and health side of things, I save people's lives. So I'm really looking forward to having a session with Ian on my own business, and how I can explain what I do, because I'm struggling to get my message over. And I say I'm struggling, that's an exaggeration. I haven't really given it a lot of thought yet, because I've gone from volunteer mentoring people with cancer, to now turning into an online business. So watch this space. I look forward to showing the results and sharing with you what I've learned for my own business with iangenius.co.uk. Bye for now. Have a fantastic day, whatever you're doing.